There you go.
Yay, it worked.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining our panel here today. I'm excited to present with these other awesome women and the work that we're doing in youth workforce development. Speaking to Cristo Rey and our corporate work study program, founded 25 years ago, we are the first high school in what is now the Cristo Rey network of 38 schools, which includes our sister school, Christ the King, in the Austin neighborhood. In my role, I oversee all revenue generating programs of Cristo Rey, including our corporate work study program. There's some stats here on the screen that Deneen shared that speak to our demographics and impact at both campuses. Overall, our program educates and employs 1,000 students every school year. Cristo Rey is unique in that our cost of education per student, which falls around $15,000 per student, is predominantly covered through the work students do beginning freshman year for companies who hire them through our corporate work study program. Working from the age of 14 on is also unique to our program. Our corporate partners hire a team of 4 students who job share a full-time position. Students do anything from data entry to office administration to a multitude of responsibilities in HR and IT departments. Supervisors groom their students throughout their high school careers, and a majority of those students, after graduation, they hire them back during college. And after college graduation, companies hire those same students for full-time jobs equipped with years of corporate experience and an education under their belt. Cristo Rey in Pilsen has over 2,000 alumni now who have gone on to college and are now in careers across Chicagoland and the country. Our alumni come to the table bilingual, college educated, professional, and they are good people who know what it means to celebrate their heritage. What was started as a means to pay for our school has turned into a phenomenal professional mentorship and job training program in Chicago for our diverse student populations. And now, Lily, I'm going to turn it over to my partner in crime here, who's going to speak to our corporate partners and their successes.
Thank you, Morgan. We have 160 partners across both campuses in Chicago, and we are working our way back up to a pre-pandemic level of more than 200. We work with partners in every industry and in different sizes of business. So of course, they're all our favorites. I'm sharing just a few highlights. O'Keefe, Lyons & Hines is a small firm of 12 attorneys. The firm was the very first to sign an agreement with our program 25 years ago, and despite their small size, has hired 2 full-time equivalent positions every year. Google is our first big tech company and one of the most recent to join the program. Because of the nature of our program, just like all of you, all of our offices, we have shifted to a hybrid model, including remote work. Because of that opportunity, we were able to design a partnership with Google that allows students to contribute virtually. Wintrust is our largest partner with 8 full-time equivalent positions across the Chicago metro area. Students work in several community banks, in financial services, investments, and insurance. With Loyola Medicine, they're a key partner, both because of the industry. We have many students who are interested in medical careers, and also because they utilize students across every type of function, in operations and in medically focused roles. And the next slide, Deneen, is just some photos of our students at work and at school. And thanks to our job partnerships, really receiving a phenomenal education. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you to the Cristo Rey team. Yes. Okay, so we'll hold the questions because we want each organization to be able to present. And so next, I'll bring Kim to the forefront.
Oh, great. So I am the executive director of Genesis Works, and I just want to speak to the mission similar to all of us here, is that we work for career success with high school students in underserved communities through skills training, meaningful work experience, and impactful relationships. How this works for us is we attract rising high school seniors. During that application period, we get several hundred, as in 800 applications, and we'd love to be able to serve all of those students. And so for us, it's about gaining more corporate partners, always. Our students then go through this 8 weeks of training in the summer, 20 hours a week, and then begin their internship as the school year begins. And it is a 10-month internship. and they work from 1 to 5 for our corporate partners, and they earn money, about $15,000 to use for college going forward, or in their own communities, or for their own purchases. And they learn so much through this experience of being employed in our corporate partners. So again, primarily 98% of our students are of color, 50% are women. We have 78% living with the opportunity for free and reduced lunch, and 76% of the students that we serve are first-generation college students as well. So as we just kind of advance through the skills that we train for at Genesis Works, you can skip to that next slide, is very focused on accounting, information technology, and coding. Students don't need, as they apply to us, to know anything about any of these areas. They just need to be on track to graduate, and they just have to say, yes, I want a chance to get a job in corporate America. And we do the rest during that 8 weeks of summer training, and then we place them in internships like, as they're stated here, CIBC, Kirkland & Ellis, CME Group. These are some of our large partners. They're doing treasury management assisting. They're doing all kinds of skills related to that accounting. And then likewise with information technology and doing, all of those skill sets. And then ultimately the coding too, which is our newest program, and it's wildly successful as well. So that's what we train in. And then as we advance the slides, you can see some more of our partners. Are not to say our favorite again, you can, one more, yeah, there you go. You got TransUnion. So these are our 10-year plus partners. So we're only been in Chicago for 12 years. And so these partners have been with us from the beginning. And so you've got the Accenture, the EQ office, Kirkland, TransUnion, CIBC, and Lantern partners. And again, also a variety of sizes, from very small offices to huge companies. So it's just a real honor to be able to have these partnerships. And when you look at something like TransUnion, what they have invested in our young professionals is over $1 million in wages over the last 10 years. They've also seeded 20 interns every year, and then those become a pipeline to diverse talent for them. And they see that, and they're very innovative about this strategy. And those are the kind of companies that we love to partner with. They see us as a solution to larger challenges that they may be having at accessing talent and diverse talent. And we love to be that source of solution for you. And then as you look at our difference and the impact we're having, you can advance the slide where you see, obviously our rate of college attainment is significantly higher than without us. 56% of the young professionals that move on from us stay in STEM, stay in this field. So it becomes a passion and an energy that they want to stay committed to. And the other percentage is going into finance. So we are creating STEM opportunities in Chicago to develop this profession more like P33. And then when you think about what Genesis Works through these corporate partners has invested in the Chicago communities, it's over $10 million since the beginning. So, lots of times we like to think about philanthropy and that donation to the community, but what Genesis Works does is we invest in the individuals that live there, and then they take that investment for their future and their success. So it's just an amazing mission. It's quantifiably impactful, without a doubt. It changes lives. It is undeniably worth committing to as a profession, obviously for me, but also as a corporate partner. It's 96% of the companies that sign up with us keep in our partnerships. And yes, during the pandemic, it was a little challenging for everybody, but we've also bounced back stronger following that pandemic, and also have been able to really capitalize on extensive internships, all virtual. And so that's really given us a growth opportunity that's really been pretty amazing. So that's Genesis Works, Chicago.
That's amazing. You're right. How each of the organizations have pivoted during COVID has been truly spectacular to continue supporting your young adults.
Silver lining, really.
It really is. Next, Sandy, how about we talk about IC Stars? There we go.
Awesome, thanks. I want to say first, we're in such good company here. Hi, I'm Sandy from IC Stars. We founded the organization over 20 years ago, and we're in business to activate a technology community of change agents to power social and economic freedom. And that is, that community is both our students, our alums, our graduates, but it's also the business community of change agents, of people who are interested and passionate about investing in the next generation of technology leaders and community leaders. Next slide, please. So our program is a 4-month boot camp and then a 2-year residency program. And our 4-month boot camp is super intensive, 12 hours a day, all in a project-based learning. And so they're learning technology, leadership, and business. Next slide, please. You can see some of the details about the technology training and the skills that that folks are learning. And I think even on the business side, the professionalism and everything else. But what I think is really interesting about IC Stars and kind of makes us unique is that we're developing leaders. So our leadership curriculum is centered in systems thinking. So if we're to teach systems thinking so that people can be great programmers, developers, et cetera, at the end of the day, IT is about solving problems and building solutions. So what if we use systems thinking to solve the problems and build the solutions that our communities face every day? So our alums fall into 3 categories. They are civic leaders, business leaders, and service leaders. Next slide, please. And so as a result of that secret sauce, we have almost 90% placement rate for our graduates, and our graduates are staying in the industry longer. So an 81% industry retention rate, which is so important. And that companies are finding that our graduates, as I'm sure with the Year Up and Genesis Works and Cristo Rey, are passionate, they're hungry, and they're resilient, and they're staying in these jobs and in these industries from a place of loyalty. Okay, and so here's a slide with all of our partners, or a snapshot of some of our partners, but I want to focus on how, not just our employer partners, but how our partners are engaged in the program itself. So every cohort has a Fortune 500 company that sponsors a project. And basically they say, all right, here's the business problem. Our cohort is divided up into 4 teams. They form their own consulting companies, and then they're competing with each other for an RFP. So that the company is actually engaged in their learning. They push some of the learning objectives through and have a great time doing it. And then what they get is a software solution and a working prototype. And then that becomes like this 3-month job interview. And oftentimes they hire from that group. So a good example is Accenture is one of our largest employers. We're the largest source for talent coming out of their apprenticeship program. And they sponsor a project and then hired 5 people out of that cohort. So it's very tightly market facing in that the skills that we're building are the skills that companies are asking for right now. Okay. And last slide is my bragging slide. So 2 things. One is we have over 57 alumni businesses have been started in our alumni group, and then they're hiring from the community. They're hiring from IC Stars, and we couldn't be more proud of them. And then home ownership. So we have over 80 homeowners and folks who are receiving public assistance are now buying homes. And the big piece of that is that they're buying homes in the communities that they came from. So we asked the question, what if we determine success not by getting out of the hood, but by investing back in? How would that change our communities?
Yes, that's a great bragging slide. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, so last but not least is Year Up. So Andrea, you are next. Uh-oh. Hang on one second. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay, there we are. Andrea, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I'm Andrea Vaughn, Director of Corporate Engagement at Year Up in Chicago. Before I get into the details about Year Up, I want to ground us as why individually and collectively, my colleagues and the organizations they represent on this call, why we exist and why we are needed. There are millions of young people that lack access to opportunity due to social and economic inequities, systemic barriers, racial injustice, and an inefficient talent marketplace. Simultaneously, we have employers that are facing a growing need for diverse, skilled, and motivated talent. Year Up fills that gap. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, next slide, Denise, thank you. So who are we? We are a 20-plus-year-old nonprofit that has been in Chicago for the last 11 years, and we do two things. We help our young adults reach their potential by getting them access to economic opportunities through professional roles. And we also provide a strategic source of talent for the companies in the marketplace. Next slide. What we do know is that our work has had impact. You've heard from our other colleagues the impact that they've had, or our impact has been significant. In 2008, we received the results of a evaluation study that stated that 4 years after graduating from Year Up, our young adults were earning 34% more than the control group, which ended up being on average about $8,000 in annual earnings. That is significant and it's impactful. It's changing the lives of these young adults and changing the communities in which they live in and ultimately our city. Next slide, please. So how do we do this, right? So we are a year-long program, hence the name Year Up, and it's divided into two distinct sections. We have the training phase, and I'll go into the details about the career pathways that we expose our young adults to, and then the work-based experience phase. We also provide ongoing support to our alumni, because as you know, it takes a village to be successful, and you can't do it alone, so we provide that support to them. In addition to the training and the professional support that they get, we also provide wraparound services to our young adults, because oftentimes the barriers that exist really prevent our young adults from being able to reach their full potential. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 5 career pathways, and they're listed here: information and technology, financial operations, sales and customer support, business operations, software development and support. These are the training that our young adults are receiving. In Chicago, our training is focused on help desk support, cybersecurity, project management, client services and sales support, and data analytics. In addition to these hard skills, we're also helping our young adults with those soft skills that are always important, right? I always say people get hired for their hard skills, but they get fired for those soft skills, right? And so we spend a lot of time helping develop those soft skills that they exist. Next slide, please. So we serve a wide range of industries, financial services, technology, healthcare, insurance, and higher ed, just to name a few. The types of roles that our young adults are in are varied. They're help desk analysts, data analysts, financial services reps, project management assistant, cybersecurity analysts. There are a wide range of roles that our young adults work in with our partner organizations. Next slide, Deneen. And here's a list of our partners. They are key stakeholders in the work that we do. They provide our young adults with the support to be successful and are hiring our young adults at the completion of their internship. We could not do this work like my colleagues on this call without the support of our partners. So I'm going to actually, Deneen, can you go to slide 13 for me really quickly? I have an addendum because Deneen we only had 4 minutes, which is not enough time to talk about our organizations. Keep going, Deneen. I want to just share a quick summary. Keep going.
I can't tell which slide is 13 on.
Right, I'm sorry, right here. So what we're really proud of these numbers, and these are post-pandemic numbers. But we have served 2,215 young adults to date. On average, when they graduate from the program, they're earning $41,000. We have salaries that go up to $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And the good news is that these young adults are getting jobs in what they're being trained in with our full-time training aligned roles, which is a key metric that we track. Prior to COVID, that number was 75% and higher. So I want to kind of ground us before I say goodbye. I turn it over back to Deneen. We are in a really critical point. The pandemic has erased 10 years of progress in a few short months. Unemployment among young adults that we serve went from 8.4% to 24.4%. Significant. And the communities that are being affected most by the pandemic are African-American and Latinx communities. And so we have a moment to really have an impact. So for those of you that are in organizations that are looking for talent, we have an opportunity to connect and really continue to change the landscape of our communities and our city by partnering with organizations like Year Up and others that are on this call with me today. I thank you so much, and I'm going to turn this back to Deneen.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and to this entire panel. The work you do is incredibly important. Like we stated earlier in our call, there's dignity in employment that surpasses that paycheck. It's the confidence that the young adults gain by working with supportive teams. It's being able to provide and add value to their families and their communities. So we definitely need all of you there. When we talk about the work though, I'm sure there have been many hiccups and lessons learned throughout the time that your organizations have existed. So if you could just share some of the challenges that you've had over the years, getting corporate partners to understand the why and buy-in for adopting and supporting your programs and your initiatives. So I'll open it up. I won't really call on you. Just take yourself off mute and provide your comment.
I'll start the conversation with this. The biggest challenge, I think, in workforce development in general is being perceived as a charity versus an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because when we are a charity, like charity is something you do, not someone you work with. And so we're having to transcend that perception in order to sort of, put our graduates in the space where they're competing with consultants from IBM, so we've worked really hard to kind of change that perception of charity, and it's very difficult. Like 501c3 is a tax designation, and probably that's the biggest difference.
I will add to that. I think in the early years of Year Up, it was like, let's just give these young people a chance. Let's give them an opportunity to see what life is like in corporate America. And we shifted to really getting under the hood of what are the needs, what are the talent needs that our partners are facing? Where are they finding turnover? Where are they finding challenges in recruiting motivated talent, right? Retention is very costly to organizations to the tune of maybe $35,000 to $40,000 per employee when someone leaves the organization. So we've done a really good job with our partners and to approach it from that perspective. What are your needs? And we are a viable solution. And we offer lots of solutions that I didn't even go in here today, but just understanding what the partners' needs are and seeing how we can solve. And that has been helpful in shifting, Sandy, from your point, from we're just a charity, let's dangle a carrot, to really being strategic partners in winning the war on talent.
Yes, and I'm sure many organizations understand they learn as much from the young adults as they're teaching.
I would say that a challenge as well, and this is probably also a challenge at Cristo Rey, is I'll say this nicely, ignorance. And it's this idea that a 17 or 18-year-old could actually be an effective employee and with skills that are mid skills as opposed to entry-level skills, that this is a possibility. And it actually turns out that you're not sure what you're going to do with this high school student when they start in your company. And then what happens at Genesis, and I'm sure this is true at Cristo Rey as well, by the time you're leaving that internship and they're getting maybe the next crop, they're concerned that they're losing out. And they actually start to ask us if they could keep that student in that role. And we're like, well, maybe, but I think they're on their way to college or onto their career path because they become so much a part of the company. So I think if you can break that barrier of the ignorant piece, like it is no experience with high school seniors, then you really are, hook, line, and sinker from that point forward. But you first have to take that leap of faith.
I want to just join in on what Kim is saying in terms of the relationship between students and their supervisors at work, because that's where really the success of all of our programs come through, is when we have supervisors and mentors in the workspace that are very dedicated to students. They show up every day for them. They welcome them as if they are their own employees, but also knowing that at their age level and experience level, they do need more coaching early on. And I'll tell you briefly a very funny story to demonstrate this. Sometimes we have students that they do a multitude of different projects during the day, but sometimes it might be office services and like tidying up the kitchen, is kind of in their list of tasks. And we had a firm that started and showed the students how to load the dishwasher and run the dishwasher in their small firm. And the students came running for the administrators. There's water and soap everywhere. Like the whole kitchen is like flooded with soapy water. And it was because the students didn't know precisely how to load the dishwasher, and they used dish soap instead of a dishwasher tab. And that's a funny story, but it really illustrates like communication is so key, and modeling what it is that you're looking for your young student workers to do, and making sure that they're getting it and that they're understanding what's being asked of them.
That's right, and I'll build upon what you're saying, Lily. When it comes to integrating young adults into the workplace, how do you work with your managers and teams to help them work best to onboard these young adults and to support them through their journey?
I can take that. Actually, Deneen, I think Stella has had her hand up. I'm not sure if you're able to see her.
I didn't.
Would love to give her the floor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Stella, please ask your question. We have 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. So really quickly, my name is Stella Shirley. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called WeSell. We believe in experiential learning. And so we help companies identify talent based on performance in real projects, but specifically in the graduate MBA space. My question is for the Jesuit High School. How do you address the potential perception of Black and Brown high school students working to essentially supplement or pay for a portion of their education? How have you addressed any potential perception issues that come with something like that?
Thank you for that question, Stella. That's a
Yeah,
great question.
thank you. Thanks, Stella. I think quite honestly, it's been a positive selling point for us to speak to the fact that our students are actually working towards their education. I think a lot of times when you speak to, let's say, the word charity, people see that as a handout. And what we're offering is a hand up for our students in that they're learning skills, they're working, they're not just accepting what would be perceived by some as a handout. So I think that's actually helped us as we talk to companies and folks that might have different viewpoints to understand that, you know, they're putting the blood, sweat, and tears into their education. And then it turns out that they come back and give back. So that's just a brief answer.
Excellent. We're going to be swept away in a second, so I won't ask any additional questions. I will say just thank you to this amazing panel. So much insight has been learned through this conversation, but there's so much more to share. So I welcome the participants in this workshop. If you have additional questions, you will get information on the panelists and how to contact them. Thank you so much for all you do. And yes, thank you for sharing. If the panelists have anything quickly they'd like to say, go for it.